Hey, it's Natasha.
And Khalil.
And we are the co-hosts of
WokeNFree.
Thank you for tuning in to our 117th episode of WokeNFree. If you've been tuning in every week for WokeNFree Wednesday, you know that WokeNFree is all about being real and honest with each other and you. We talk about everything and anything important to us, you, the world, and nothing is off the table. This week, we are talking about something very interesting. Does a name determine the person? But before we go down that heavy topic, we have something to do, which is, my monologue. So let's get started. If you are listening to this on the Podbean app, yay! That's fantastic. That means you've downloaded it and that you are listening and you can comment, and it is fantastic. If you are catching this on iTunes or Spotify or iHeartRadio or any of the platforms we're on, yay! We appreciate you and adore you as well. Just make sure that you are subscribed and following the podcast on whatever platform you are taking us in. So if you go to WokeNFree.com and you click on the listen tab or page, you'll be able to see where the show is and all the different places that you can tune in every single week. So make sure you do that. When it comes to social media, if you have something to say to us, if you have breaking news, if you have topic ideas, please feel free to holler at us on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, and even YouTube at WokeNFree. And again, comment on posts, let's have a conversation. Every single week, we want to have really, really cool conversations. So make sure you do that. And then, of course, we would love for you to just take a couple of minutes to review the show. So for instance, we have a 5-star rating on iTunes. So if you want us to get more, what do we need you to do? We need you to take a couple of minutes, review the show, and be a part of the conversation in an even greater and meaningful way. So thank you. Monologue over.
Nice one.
Thanks.
Each week we like to share a little bit about us before we dive into the topic for the episode. Last week we shared, what are your go-to boots for cooler weather? This week we are asking, what is your favorite Thanksgiving pie?
Yes. Well, in honor of the upcoming holiday, I pretty much love this pie every day, but I definitely love to eat it for Thanksgiving, which is pumpkin pie. And you?
I can't go for the pumpkin, but I just go for the classic apple pie instead.
Keeping it classic.
Yeah.
Nice.
Just easier to do.
Yes. But you also do something that's really cool that doesn't even involve a pie, but does involve apples. And what is that?
You mean the apple Betty?
Yes, that's really yummy to eat too.
Oh yeah, that's a good one too. Yeah, if you're not having a pie, it's like a pie without the crust, basically.
I
Definitely
love
a
that.
good one.
Yes.
And now we're just gonna jump right to the episode.
Yep.
Does a name determine the person, you think?
Yes.
All right,
okay.
You answer that one.
Yes. Okay, so let's kind of break this out. So again, guys, if you are new to the platform and you aren't aware of how we do things, we like to have resources that we share in our episodes, and all links can be found at WokeNFree.com in the episode notes, okay? So according to an article in Quartz, social scientists believe that names produce a Dorian Gray effect, influencing personality, how we're perceived, and even physical appearances. And it goes on and on. There's a lot that can be said, but our physical traits, in turn, impact how other people perceive us, which again affects how we feel and see ourselves, and so on and so forth. Psychologists believe that there's a relationship between internals and externals, a back and forth that shape us. There was also research that was done, according to in the Quartz article, but from Hebrew University in Jerusalem, that went into testing kind of this Dorian Gray effect when it comes to names and physical appearance. And there's a lot that can be said, but we really want you to go and read through and make sure that you're also getting woke and free in this. But just a couple of points from the research. In the first study, a panel was presented with photographs of Israeli young adults, each accompanied by 4 false names, all local and common, and 1 real name. The participants were able to pick the true name 28% of the time. That's a significant portion more than the 20% hit rate of random guessing. And essentially, what did it mean? Like, Dan looked like a Dan, apparently. So, there is some type of, I mean, I don't know if that's like
8% difference. That's a big.
Yeah. It's interesting. Anything else really I'd love to talk about? They also had a study where they did it with like, I don't know if it's called machine learning, but it's, not machine learning, but like, I guess computer analysis and like having computers go through images and stuff like that, which is okay. Gotcha. And so computers were also used to analyze which parts of the faces were most useful for name matching. And they found that eyes and surrounding area, which are used to form voluntary expressions, were much more useful than the margins. And then face naming typing likely works on many levels, the study suggests, because we have shared ideas of what names connote, I guess.
Maybe, yeah. I've never heard it said that way.
People with those names may grow into them by adapting expected behavior, facial expressions, and looks. And perceivers will also have certain expectations based on social coding. The messages go back and forth, manifesting in a look, face type for people of the same name. So essentially, there is an implication. I don't know. I think there's probably more science needed in the space, but it is interesting that, like, is it possible to name someone and then they behave in the way that a Dan or a Janice or an April or a Rose behaves, right? Like, they also mentioned, like, say your name is Rose. Social coding may direct you to act feminine, smile demurely, wear dresses, grow your hair long. This is perhaps unconsciously expected, more of a woman name for a flower than an Alexandra, who goes by Alex, a name that in the US is common for males and females. Alex may feel more free to bend gender stereotypes because of her name and how people see her, and vice versa. She'll be likely to be less floral somehow than Rose. And researchers concluded that monikers are a kind of self-fulfilling prophecy. Once a baby is named, the child may well develop into an adult who looks and acts the part. So, that's what you got. You can see the article at WokeNFree.com, but it's interesting.
That's good. There's some science behind it, but it just, the numbers aren't convincing to me. I don't see the difference between 20 and 28% is kind of like, all right, is that an error? I mean, that's not going to really get my goose going. Maybe if there was more studies surrounding this, maybe I could be more accepting of this data. But I mean, I tend to think that names do somewhat determine what a person does. But then again, people also change their names. So I don't know if, and then you don't even know if they change their name. It's kind of like if they change their name, everybody introduced after the name change, they're not going to know that previous name.
No,
they're not going to even think that, oh, that name doesn't match the person.
But they are going to have an expectation associated with the new name that they chose, right?
Yeah,
so
maybe
if you
went
went from like Agabagabubu to Alex
Jack.
Or something, then they're going to have perceptions of what an Alex or what a Jack does, and then maybe that was the intended name for that person, right? And then there's also, like, we definitely don't have time to talk about it here, in this episode, but, what about the, like, cultural name versus non-cultural name, for people who have, like, their government name versus the name they go by, so their name might be, Zhang Zhang, right? Or something like that. Yeah. And then they go by like Zeke. Which name is more defining? Is their original name from their culture more appropriate? Names are interesting.
Yeah, see, even like that, when you take on a new name and it's not even your real name, it's just kind of interesting. Like, I go by John, but that's not actually my true birth name. Like, that's... sometimes, but it's funny, sometimes you can tell someone says their name and you're like, that doesn't seem to match. Like, sometimes you do get that feeling, but it's not every time, though. See, I don't think it's such a hard and fast rule that of a name determining the person. I think it's very loose, like those numbers are very loose. So small, 20 and 28%. I like to see even higher percentages. Like, come on, because that could just be.
I just think more studies are necessary, though. Yeah.
Maybe that could tell us. Yeah, more studies probably.
So, how are most people named?
Well, personal names around the world differ, actually. And I found this W3 article, and it lists some interesting scenarios about names. So, the Icelandic name, Björk Gomundarsorser. I can't say that one. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Björk is the given name. And the second part of that name indicates the father's or sometimes the mother's name, followed by son for a male or dotir for a female. Björk's father, Gomundur, was the son of Gunnar, so is known as Gormundur, Gunnar's son. And Icelanders actually prefer to be called by their given name, Björk, or by their full name, Björk Gumundsdóttir. Björk wouldn't normally expect to be called Miss Gumundsdóttir. Telephone directors in Iceland are actually sorted by their first name, which I thought that's interesting.
Yeah.
So if everybody, if your first name's Björk, you're going to see a ton of Björks first. Wow. It's going to be sorted by that. So that's interesting. And then other cultures where a person has one given name followed by a patronymic, I think it's the word, include parts of southern India, Malaysia, and Indonesia. So they follow kind of like what the Icelanders are doing.
Interesting.
And in the Malay name, Isa bin Osman, the word bin means son of. Binti is used for women. If you refer to this person, you might say Mr. Isa, or if you know him personally, Enki Isa. And Enki is a Malay word. It's kind of like saying Mr. in English. Now, the Chinese names, so like Mao Zedong, the family name is Mao, the first name when reading left to right. And the given name is actually at the end. It's Dong. The middle character, Zay, is a generational name, and it's given to all the siblings of that generation. So, like, brothers and sisters. So, the Mao Zedong will have, like, siblings named Mao Zemin, Mao Zetan, and Mao Zehong. Oh, so they all have that Zay. I guess, they're from the same generation. And Spanish-speaking people, they actually have two family names. So, for example, Maria Jose Carreno Quiñones may be the daughter of Antonio Carreño Rodriguez Maria Quiñones Marquez. So you refer to her as Señorita Carreño, not Señorita Quiñones.
Okay.
So, those two names are the last name of her mother and then the last name of her father. And then that's how they usually do it. The mother's last name comes first and then the father's last name. But you only call her by the father's last name if you're just saying like Mrs. or Señorita. Gotcha. But I found, that's interesting how names are like constructed differently depending on the culture. Yeah. It can really differ. And then people don't even like to be called the same thing. Like,
Absolutely.
It's changed.
And then when we get to the United States, what do? We buck the system. And like according to Live Science, names communicate so much because they often embody parents' values and tastes as well as dreams and ambitions for their child. Sociologists love names, according to Wattenberg. They're practically the only case of a choice with broad fashion patterns that are no commercial influence on them. There's no company out there spending millions to convince you Braden is a perfect name for your son. Studies have shown that movies, celebrities, and other cultural trends do have an impact on the popularity of certain names. To understand how the meaning communicated through names have evolved, Wattenberg suggests thinking about an office with a dress code requiring all employees to wear gray or blue suits to work every day. Seeing a man dressed in a blue suit in such an environment would tell you very little about that man's taste or personality. Very interesting.
That's an interesting comparison.
So I think with the other thing for us is typically we take after our last names are our fathers, but not necessarily. It's not a requirement here.
You can actually choose what you want to do.
Yeah, you can name your child after the mother's last name, which typically I see that happens when there's discord between the mother and the father, and she's, like, you become my name, and it's interesting because then it really does then make it also harder to find people, right? It's easier if there's synchronicity in naming, and it's because then, like, even within my own family, I have family members that didn't share my maiden last name. And that even as a woman, my last name changes, right? Or I chose to allow it to change. So it's interesting.
You know what? The Spanish way is interesting because you technically get your mother and your father's.
Which I love. Yeah, that's very empowering.
It's kind of like who your mother and
lineage,
father is,
yeah.
then you can know that at least you know the direct lineage. Like, it makes it easier to say, like, all right, this is my mother's side, this is my father's side. So if you know anybody that has these one of these names in your name, then you may be related.
Yeah.
That's what's kind of interesting about that, by having that on. But then the problem is that then you have, if you have if you want to add a middle name as well, then
it's a lot of names.
Now it's a lot.
4 names, yeah.
So, I didn't look it up. I should have checked. But I wonder if a middle name is almost like the generational name that the Chinese have in the middle.
Oh, for Spanish cultures.
No, now I'm jumping. But to the Chinese cultures, remember I was talking about how the siblings have they technically have like a middle name, which is a generational name. I wonder if that's why we have middle names. But if we don't use it as generational, we just say
I think
it can just be random.
It's just, like in the United States, it seems like it's all about just being pretty. Like,
or no, you know what it is? It's because the thing that happens. Remember, if you have too many Bajorks, now you have a middle name to separate. So it's like John L.
True, because we definitely have a lot of Johns and Adams.
I think that's what it was. That's why they added middle name. Yeah. But technically, if they did the Spanish way, that probably would have helped as well, because then most people's their mothers and fathers don't have the same last name.
Yeah.
But what if your mother and father do have the same last name? Then you don't get the double name in Spanish culture.
Maybe, yeah.
Wow. All right. That could definitely get confusing. Now, what factors should be considered when naming someone?
So there was a really interesting list that I found on Shino. So again, all links can be found at WokeNFree.com in the show notes. So there's several factors. We'll see if we can get through them. Popular culture is one. So has the name been used in songs, books, movies, television shows? My friends Lola and Cecilia get serenaded every time they meet someone new. It has to get annoying. That's just like a line that they found in the article.
All right.
So there's that. There's also initials and monograms. So you probably don't want a B.U.M. or
for your initials.
P.M.S. on towels or luggage. So right. So
you have to look at that. That's true. Yeah. Some people have interesting initials.
Right. Like you don't want to name someone KKK unless you're about that life. It's up to you. Rhyme. So does the name rhyme with, like, I knew, this is messed up. I'm not going to say that one. Okay. A pissy Chrissy or a boozy Susie. Just saying. Okay, guys. Well, the one I didn't want to say was Fatty Patty. That's just offensive.
But that's good. That's like a piece of burger meat, right? That's
sure,
what I think
that's
about.
What they're referring to.
Because patty, when you think about a meat, a meat patty.
Next is length. How many syllables does the name have? If your last name has 4 syllables, you might want to shy away from a long first name, or your kid will end up having a tongue twister as a name, right? And then also teasing. People think about, will the child get annoyed if their name is, say, Richard, and they get called beep, right? Like thinking about that. Also nicknames. What will they call him or her for short? My sister named her daughter Brooklyn, but did not want to go around calling her Brooke for short, right? Because that, or broke, or, like you have to think about how the nickname works, and then word names and brand names. So, that's another consideration. Scroll down.
Well, even the assistant names now you got to think about. Voice assistant. But if you're named after them.
Oh, that's a good one. Yes.
That makes it tough,
want to be weary of technological name choices.
Yeah, that's a new thing now.
That is a new one. Also popularity, how popular names are, which you can I've definitely seen lists about that as well. Celebrity names. Some people, again, we mentioned, are very influenced by Katie Holmes' daughter's name, or certain celebrities that they just love. Namesakes. So if you name your child Reagan or Kennedy or Lincoln, it's really kind of because you really adored past presidents or people you really admired. Shout out to Malcolm X. Puns, idioms, phonetics, meaning and inspiration. There are names with certain meanings that really kind of move parents or move people in naming people. Spelling. It's hard enough to grow up in this world, and then when your kid has to spell Katie, Katie, as Cayyti, or Michael as Mykel,
Wow.
right? Let's just keep it simple and sweet, babies. Siblings names, right? So if you have a certain name and do you want like a shout out to the Kardashians, right? Like if you want the K theme, or if you want like, it is really cute, right? Courtney, Chloe, Kim, like, yay, there's some type of symmetry here.
Now you know that you're all siblings.
Exactly. And then there's a couple more. Last names as first names. So it has been a trend to use last names as first names for quite some time. We're looking at you as a Jackson, a Quinn, a Beckett, Delaney. Interesting. I don't know if I've ever met a Delaney.
Yeah.
Also unisex, which is definitely going to continue to get bigger as we live in a world with non-binary folk and kind of gender like neutral, and just really making sure that we're not putting patriarchal ideas through our nomenclatures and through our naming system. So people who identify differently, you want to make sure that they are having names that could reflect whatever gender they are, right? And origin and ethnicity, right? There's definitely names that speak to people's cultures, and then place names. So the Madison, Phoenix, Dallas, Boston. So those are a lot.
Wow.
Those are a lot of different factors that one could go through. We'd love to hear. I know I've never met a Boston. I'd love to meet a Phoenix. Definitely have met a Madison. So when I think of Madison, though, I just think of Madison Ave. I don't know if they're thinking about Madison in where is that, in Wisconsin or something. I'm not sure where people
there's
are
other
motivated.
Madison. Well, there's Madison's everywhere.
And then there's also, isn't that famous book?
Madison's everywhere.
Madison County, or there's a famous book or movie, or both, I think.
Maybe.
About that. Yeah. Or Madison, something, yeah, there's something with Madison, but, there's a lot of factors.
Common.
If you, WokeNFree Nation, if you happen to be a parent and you have like a really interesting formula that you use to name your children or to name someone, please put that in the comments. We'd love to know kind of how you took that and went with that approach for your own personal life. Hey there. Do you have a book that you want to share with the WokeNFree Nation? Are you a business owner looking to share your product or service with the podcasting world? Well, guess what? You can book an ad with us on our Contact Us page at WokeNFree.com. We're super excited to speak with you about curating a unique ad that will get your message across the WokeNFree platform. So go to the Contact Us page at WokeNFree.com. That is WokenFree.com, because WokeNFree is more than a podcast. It's a way of life and offers an innovative way to promote your platform in the exploding podcasting space. What are your thoughts, though, when it comes to factors and names?
I think the new factor for the technological age is SEO for your like full name. Yeah. How do you find the names like those common names? I mean, how are you going to be found on the internet? Like, what's going to make you stand out when you're being searched? How do people find you on LinkedIn? Because I mean, I don't usually. I guess maybe your middle name can help you out, but if you have a really common first name and then your last name kind of gets thrown in the mix, people can have trouble finding you online, and it might be, you might be further down on the results page and they'll be like, oh man, they have no online presence. I don't like that. Like how many...
the level of judgment, guys.
That'll people might just say, that's weird. Are they off the grid? Are they Smeagol in disguise? I don't know.
All right. Well,
he's off the grid, so that's the thing.
Guys, how do we become a Natasha nurse?
How many Natasha nurses are there in the planet? Not a lot. We know that.
Thank you, Khalil. Thank you.
See, that's a nice thing to know, though, to know that you have such a unique name that now you can be found online easily. So that helps out. Like, all right, go find John Williams. Go find him. How many John Williams will you find? But maybe
it's John Boston Williams. And thus the solution is there.
Oh, put Boston in.
Yeah, okay. So now everyone, guys, name your child with like your favorite place in the world as a middle name. That'd be fun.
Because here's what you got to do then. Even if you've written articles, then you've got to always use that middle name moniker, or else you won't be found. You can't go by the common. You can't go by the common first and last name, or else you won't be found.
True that.
Because there'll still be, like I told you, there's a lot of those John Williams.
Judgment.
But that's the thing to think about.
Mm-hmm.
Here we go, yo. So what's the scenario? It's scenario time, guys. Scenario 1. Ching is on a large dating site, but was told he should use a Western name to increase his chances of finding a match. Should he do this or list his real name?
Oh, that's like a really sad scenario. Oh, like, should you be yourself or not for dating? Oh, I keep it 100. If you know me, you know that I'm all about being real and honest to the point of disgust, really. I think that if you are dating and you like your name, then you should list your name on a dating site. Now, if he didn't like his name and he wanted to go by a nickname because he just, he doesn't feel that name matches his innate soul, or it's not vibing with him right now, then fine, pick another name. But I think, be honest, put that government out there, like, do that. That's my advice to him.
All right. I think he should use his real name because that's his given name. There's nothing wrong with it.
Well, of course there's nothing wrong with it, but it's really a matter of does he like it or not, because you can have your government name, and you might not like it, right? We know people who don't like their government name.
I feel if you don't like your name, you should change it, though.
That costs money and time, though.
That's what I feel.
Okay.
I feel if he really... I don't like when people just make a...
The
only way I'll go by it...
is your middle name, right?
Well, middle, but if it's like a nickname, I understand. Like, people go by nicknames kind of thing. Yeah. So I understand that, but... when you just never use your real name, then I'm like, okay, what's the purpose of this real name?
What if his name, because it's Ching, spelled with a Q though, right?
Yeah.
So what if his name was like Q-Tip though? Like, his nickname, so you just have to be careful about just thinking about the presentation of it, guys.
Yeah, see, that's cool though. You can go by
Q-Tip. Q-Tip. Be like, oh, I see where you come in with it.
But he's not the real Q-Tip though. He's the fake Q-Tip.
That's interesting.
But when you saying Q-Tip, you're referring to the person Q-Tip. Right?
I know, the rapper. That's why I'm like, so people could think that he's like real, like down in color.
I know that maybe
not.
There might be people listening to this podcast that think we're talking about actual Q-tips
or Q-tips, like in your ears. No,
they might not have heard of Q-tips. So just putting that out there, Q-tip is a rapper.
The rapper Q-tip, guys.
Not the actual objects.
But that's a whole other different level of life.
Yeah, definitely. Scenario 2. Arav is starting an acting career and is trying to decide if it makes sense to go by an alias while trying to bedazzle Hollywood. Should he stick with his name or change it?
That's a life scenario. Yeah. Well, so Hollywood being in the United States, right?
Well, yeah, that's the only
Hollywood.
There's other
I know Bollywood
play on it, but it's a play on
Nigerian
the
name.
Hollywood.
Yeah. But so I think here, keeping it 100 in this country, do all people have the same access or the same interpretations when it comes to names? No, people are definitely, there's bias and there's racism and there is judgment, hardcore. So if he goes by a Rob, they definitely know that is not an Adam. So what judgment calls would they make based on the name Arav, right? I'll let you guys, WokeNFree Nation, come to that decision on your own. And so I think if he's trying to not let his name dictate who he's going to be perceived before even walking into a room, then especially in the room of Hollywoods, right, where it is a lot of judgment, a lot of competition, a lot of really backstabbing, really negative, toxic behaviors and attitudes. It depends on what he can tolerate, right? If he feels his name is holding him back and he feels like he has to not disclose it up front because he wants to just get in the room to just be able to do those auditions and do what he needs to do, then he might need to go by that Adam moniker.
Oh, wow, okay.
Sure. But if he's looking to be 100 and he's like, I don't care, I only want to work with people who want to work with an Arav, then he rocks his name and, you rock out your life. But my advice, again, life is too short to try to be anyone else and everyone else is taken. So do you. And Arav it's an interesting, beautiful name. And on the other hand, that could stand out and work for his favor. So I would go with Arav personally. Okay.
What I would do in this situation is I would change it slightly. I don't know what his last name is, but I would use the first letter of his last name. So I'd go by Arav Z or something. Because it would sound interesting just with that first
and mysterious,
letter. Yeah. I think that would add a little kick to the name.
Okay.
I think that would help out his career actually, because it's a unique name. and it's different. So I think in this case it would actually be helpful. And we know we do find those Hollywood people that do have interesting names.
Shia LaBeouf. I mean,
yeah. See, some people say they don't look at the trends. They say I'm making my own. I'm going to make my own name.
Well,
my name.
Definitely an original for sure.
Yeah, I'm going to own it. Yeah,
for sure.
Even if it's hard to pronounce, I'm still going to do it. So it is possible to keep your name. You just got to feel it out, feel what's right.
Exactly.
But sometimes people change their name. They're like, they use a last name like Rockstar or something because they just want to make their name pop or something.
Well, yes, I don't.
Some people do that.
I don't know if Jewel is really named Jewel.
Some people just want a really out there cool kind of name to go.
It might be. Shout out Jewel. If that's your real name, please let us know in the comments.
Well, yeah, that'd be pretty amazing.
Absolutely.
Scenario 3. Toluca moved to the U.S. when she was young. Her teachers always struggled with her name throughout her childhood years. Now that she is older, should she change her name?
Ooh, another tough one, right? This idea of who are you living for, me or others, right? I think at the end of the day, Toluca isn't necessarily the easiest name to say, but it's also not the hardest. And at the end of the day, if people can't, you've taught me that you have to be proud to celebrate your culture. And at the end of the day, it's someone else's problem if they can't say your name right. It's not your problem. If you like your name and your name has meaning and power behind it because it's attached to you and you have meaning and power, you've got to kind of just, it's kind of like every time you meet the person, it's a bit of an education, right? Hey there, my name is Toluca, not Tahana, not Satana. How are you? And you can be a little funny and sassy with it. You don't have to be like, my name's Toluca. Sorry if you can't say it right. Show up in a way in your life that gives people the idea that you are here with presence and power and you are not ashamed of anything. You are unapologetically amazing. So, Toluca, you better rock your life out. Do you think?
Yeah, I mean, I think she's okay in this scenario just to keep her name because, like you said, it's technically not that hard. It wasn't. I mean, if it's 13 syllables.
If it was longer,
that might make it a little bit
tricky.
Yeah, maybe you should make a shortened version so people can say it.
I'm a fan of
when your name is super long. And then we didn't talk about it. As long as your name doesn't have a symbol in it, that's pretty good too.
Oh my! People with symbols in their name?
I don't know them, but there's the urban legend of the name Ladasha with a dash in it.
Are you serious?
Yeah, it's an urban legend. I don't know if it's true. I mean, I've heard this story that someone had a symbol in their name, a dash. And you actually have to say the dash, so that's unacceptable.
That's from the olden times, you mean?
No, that's not from olden times. Oh, it's a modern urban legend.
Oh, that's really unfortunate.
Yeah. I'm sorry, I'm not even trying to make fun of that dash out there, but that's not cool. Just take the dash out and just spell it. You can go by
outrageous.
Even if you want to. I mean, I'm not fond of the Ladasha name, but if you want to go by that, you can't have a dash in the name.
Well, you bring up another point, which we're getting down this weird yellow brick road. But I personally am not a fan of names with apostrophes. Because I think it's getting confusing, and I'm also how do you fill out those forms at the hospital or for Social
those
Security?
Get dropped in.
It gets weird, right?
I think some computer systems will drop that.
They just
actually.
drop it, and so I'm that to me, I'm why are we making?
But it's hard because of French, the French, and then even that Icelandia name that technically had some different symbols. It had I don't know what it's called, but O with the 2 dots above it. I don't know. I don't know how you pronounce that, but is that So they have interesting symbols that we don't even have on our keyboard. So it's
getting weird, guys.
It makes it it's easier to stick with.
But listen, if there's culture attached to it, it's challenging. You have to balance, as we talked about, with so many factors that go into a name. Lot to balance there, but culture is important, and we in Western culture have a really horrible way of making people feel bad about their culture, and we have to stop because it's not nice. But we do also have to understand, even with culture, we can't make it
practical to exchange things, right?
And not too.
It's kind
complicated,
of because even how you have Chinese, and they have their certain.
Beautiful, they're
kind of the kanji or whatever. They have the certain characters that we can't read that, so they translate it into the Arabic script so we can kind of see what's going on. And so even though their culture, they use different a whole different alphabet and whole different language. We translate it for us so we can actually communicate. So I think you just got to keep that in mind, that you still want to be able to communicate with other cultures and get the general idea across. So let's just kind of make it as easy and smooth as possible while still retaining your culture. Like,
absolutely.
You got to think about that. So the dash got to go, because I don't think that's a culture thing. I just think that was
a really
born
good
out of
thing
ignorance.
to learn for today. Wow, that's fascinating.
Yeah, I think that was born out of ignorance.
We are at that time again. It is coming to the end of our 117th episode of Woke and Free. Did that feel good to you?
It felt good. It felt good to all the different names out there.
Ooh la la.
Like Marshmallow.
Absolutely, like Marshmallow.
Yeah.
I'm feeling that Aronov, though.
Arav? I mean, you could go longer. Arav.
Yeah,
but Aronov is another name, yeah.
That's very interesting. I'm also thinking
Arav as a movie star, I think that name would stand out.
Ooh, Arav, yeah, that's kind of sexy. I like that. Okay. This was quite the episode, guys. What did we talk about? We talked about does a name determine the person? So if you missed any of it, feel free to go back, rewind, and of course, will we leave you hanging for what our next episode will be about? Drum roll, please.
On our next episode, we will be discussing, if the universe sent a newsletter, what would it say? Make sure you follow us on social media to follow along in the conversation. Make sure you tune in next week for WokeNFree Wednesday to join the conversation at WokeNFree.com. If you'd like to be a guest on the show, submit a topic for an upcoming episode, or share how you feel on our Contact Us page at WokeNFree.com. That is WokenFree.com. FYI, 2019 is nearly over, so we're really talking about 2020. So if you have ideas, definitely hit us up in advance and go through the Contact Us page, okay? And then, of course, on social media, if you are interested in just chatting or thinking something comes to your mind quickly, or you like one of our topics or things that we're writing about on Facebook, on Instagram, or on Twitter, or any of the videos on our YouTube channel, just feel free to put comments and hit us up there. We'd love to hear from you. You heard the ad. When it comes to sponsorships or ads, if you are looking to advertise, this is the time now. We will curate a very unique sales proposition for your book or product or service that you want to advertise. So make sure you hit us up on our Contact Us page, again, at WokenFree.com. If you didn't already subscribe, please do, share the episode, and make sure you come back to join the conversation every Wednesday for Woke and Free Wednesdays. Remember, Woke and Free is more than a podcast, it is a way of life. Until next time.